Hello and welcome to this new episode of the program, The Next Interview. Zyad Tariq Rasheed is with you, joining from Ottawa, the federal capital of Canada. Welcome, everyone. I'm very excited today because the person or the singer, the artist that I'm going to interview today was on my bucket list. Yes, he was on my bucket list because I was dreaming of interviewing him and I was hoping for this day to come. I've waited for almost 2 years to meet Kobi Farhi from Orphaned Land. And at last, he's made it. He's here. And we're going to talk today about Orphaned Land journey to fame and success, the journey from the Middle East to the world, the music of Orphaned Land. Today, we're going to celebrate Kobi Farhi. We're going to celebrate Orphaned Land and we will celebrate their music and success. So, without any further ado, please welcome Kobi Farhi from Orphaned Land. Hello, Kobi.
Hello, Ziad. Salam alaikum to
Hello.
everyone. Peace and love. How you doing?
Very well, thank you. It's been a long, long time, and I've been so impatiently waiting for this interview to happen. So here we are now. Welcome. Glad to meet you. Kobe Farhi, ladies and gentlemen. Give him a very big hand.
Thanks for having me, Ziad, and everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Kobe. Kobe, Orphaned Land. Let's start from the name of the band. Orphaned Land. What does it mean, and why did you choose Orphaned Land as a name for the very famous band?
Well, it started obviously 30 years ago when we were teenagers
Mhm.
listening to heavy metal music. And we always wanted to reflect the situation of our region. Of course, the Holy Land is always described as the promised land, the Holy Land. And as teenagers, we used to observe it, the wars, the conflicts, the bloodsheds, um, the religious problems, the political problems. And we thought that if on a Holy Land blood is spilled, if brothers or let's say uncles, because the Jews and Arabs are historical uncles, we are family at the end of the day, you and me. And when blood is spilled on a holy land, so what holiness left after that? And
Exactly.
we thought that a more proper name to describe the situation of the Holy Land would be to call it Orphaned Land. And since we always dealt with topics of this land and the people and the social and the political situation, a name that would describe this place would have been the best name we could ever think of.
Yes. So from heavy metal to oriental heavy metal.
Yes.
What is the difference? What's the distinction? It's I love I mean when I listen to oriental heavy metal, I love it. I enjoy it so much and it combines both sensations, the metal sensation and the oriental music. You combined successfully and incorporated both types of music and you just find yourself simply belly dancing to Orphan Land's music even though it's metal. And how did you do this transitions from heavy metalists to oriental metalists? How did this transition happen and why?
Well, it was very natural because when we started the band, obviously we tried to play heavy metal like bands coming from North America or Europe or Scandinavia, which majority of the bands are coming from that place.
Hmm.
But it was very quick that we came to the conclusion that copying these bands would not make us better than them, because we cannot make better Norwegian black metal than the Norwegian. We
Of
cannot
course.
we cannot make an American metal better than the Americans. On the other hand, we come from a special place that has a very special story in it, that has a lot of content in it, and we felt that if we will reflect the place that we're living, the colors, the flavors, the sounds of our region, then we would establish a new genre in the heavy metal scene. We
And you
would,
absolutely did. You did it.
yeah, and we thought that we could make the metal scene wider because
Hmm.
people from Scandinavia, if you're from Syria or Jordan or Israel or Palestine or
Yes.
Iraq or
Hmm.
anywhere in the Middle East, and you
Yes.
speak to a metalhead coming from Sweden or Germany or
Yes.
anywhere you can choose.
Yeah.
Back in the days, these guys could take Orphaned Land and show these guys, hey, this is heavy metal combining elements from my region,
True.
combining my language, combining my culture, and that was, we were the only ones back in the days. Today's, I think you can find several bands who are followers of this genre, but
Yes.
the main reason was to reflect our reality. It seemed like a better, more reasonable thing to do rather than copying the bands coming from different places.
Yes, yes. And as you are speaking right now, Sapari is in my mind.
Yeah.
I'm listening to Sapari as you're saying because you have brought this very, very traditional Yemeni song and brought it
Yes.
back to life as a heavy metal song, keeping
Yes.
the original lyrics and traditional music of that song and incorporated in heavy metal with n-
Yes.
new musical spirit into it, and it's just mesmerizing and amazing when you listen to that song, Sapari.
Thank you.
I listen to it all the time while I'm driving, and it gives you such powerful energy. Can you tell us something about this and the story behind Sapari, please?
Yes. So back in the days when we played just metal music, before it was Oriental metal. So me and Yossi, the guitarist, the former guitarist of the band, at one point we went to a synagogue,
Hmm.
and in that synagogue, Yossi's father used to chant. And every Thursday they used to meet there, the old fellas. Then they used to, sit inside the synagogue, eating hummus and chanting prayers
Yes.
and singing. And me and Yossi, we were there with Iron Maiden and Slayer T-shirts. We didn't sing with them, but we were like investigators. We were there as spies. I don't know.
Testing the
And
waters.
yes, and they were singing those songs, and we always thought it would be great to rearrange them with heavy metal, and that would
Mm.
be a phenomenal thing to do. And the way they used to sing was also very. They had these Arabic scales because it was a synagogue of the Jews who came from the Arabic world.
Hmm.
So some of the melodies they were Egyptians
Yes.
and Iraqi, and some came from Tripoli in Libya, and some from Yemen actually. So once we had decided to use these melodies, at one point when we were playing one of our shows, we had a female singer called Shlomit Levi. She is the female singer in Sapari,
Yes.
and since she is from a Yemenite background, she always gave us these treasures to listen to and directed us to places where we could listen to some of these Yemenite chants. And one show we were just sound checking, and she just sound checked her microphone, and she
Hmm.
sang that song, and I had my spying ears already from the synagogue days, and I was
Yes.
like, she's sound checking, but I was already like, what's that? What's that song?
Yeah.
And that was the moment that we have decided to do it. Now, Sapari was written more than 400 years ago by
Hmm.
a guy called Saadia ben Amram in Yemen.
Hmm.
And it basically tells the story on a very Yemenite dialect Hebrew of uh, of the Jews the poet who having this conversation with his soul and spirit.
Hmm.
He asks his spirit, "Tell me, where are you?
Hmm.
Where can I find you when I am in Yemen, searching for answers, searching for solutions to my problems?" And then the soul, the spirit, which described as a dove in the song, and that's
Yes.
the part where Shlomit is singing.
Yes.
That's when the soul is answering the poet. So it's
Yeah.
an inner conversation between a poet and his spirit,
And it's
reflected by my voice and Shlomit's voice,
yes.
very connected to the original version of the song, only
Yeah.
rearranged with distorted guitars.
Yes. Can I be very greedy and ask you to sing a small part of Safari for me, please?
Of course.
Just a small part.
Sapari tammo mimo sapari no belbate mowo sapari no belbate mowo bat melochim ha آن مقام سپری لیوی آن مقام سپری لیوی.
Wow.
That's my part. Now we need Shlomit to
Which
continue.
love me to continue. Amazing.
Yeah,
The audience and the viewers and your fans are already sending questions, and I can see them. I would like to say hello to each and every one of them. I'm going definitely shortly, throughout the interview, as we progress in the interview, I'm going to put those questions live on camera to you, on the screen, I mean, and we're going to answer the questions. So let me say hello to our dear friend Martin Sheet from Toronto, Canada. He says, first comment, like he was the first comment. Hello, Martin. Hello, Ziand at Orphaned Land. Hello, Martin. Thank you.
hello,
And
Martin.
my friend Firas from Egypt, Orphaned Lands, Kobe, welcome. And then Fawaz, my friend from Detroit, Michigan. Welcome, Kobe. Great to see you live. And my friend Marwa Gamal from Egypt, Ziad, وحشني جدا جدا جدا. She's like, Ziad, I miss you so much, so much. And Fawaz is telling you again, welcome, Kobe. Great to see you live. Fawaz As-Sanati. From Morocco, our friend Dawood Zgura says, hello, respected teacher Ziad. Have a good day and thank you for interesting topics. Welcome to see honorable guest Kobi Farhi. You are welcome. Thank you very much. My great respect. Also, Marwa is saying, glad to watch you from my beloved country, Egypt. Hello to Egypt and everyone in Egypt who's watching us right now. And Marwa is saying we love metal music, and metal music loves you. uh, Firas is saying, which band have you always wanted to tour with but never had a chance to yet? Can you answer this
So first
question?
of all, thanks for everyone for having me and for greeting me. And I'm very delighted to see here people from the Middle East, Canada as well. And
In the US.
to answering the yeah, to answering the first question, I believe we had succeeded to play with many of the bands that we wanted to when we were, metalhead teenagers. But one of them that we still didn't do it was Iron Maiden.
Hmm.
Iron Maiden was supposed to play in Jaffa, in English, 2 years ago, and the show got cancelled because of the COVID pandemic. We
Yes.
were supposed to open for them, and we opened in the past for Metallica. We opened for Ozzy Osbourne. We opened for Ronnie James Dio. We played in almost every festival you can think of.
Hmm.
Playing with them was my biggest dream ever, and we almost touched it. I mean, the posters with the Iron Maiden logo and Orphaned Land beneath were already on the streets.
Hmm.
It was already announced we were already preparing for this show, and then it got canceled. So that was a big trauma to see. Instead of playing with them, we saw I was sitting home seeing television, seeing our prime minister, and that was a big trauma for me to see a
Hmm.
speech of politicians instead of playing with Iron Maiden. So that's answering the question. Iron Maiden would definitely be the ones.
Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
Another greeting coming to you from Germany. Two viewers from Germany. Hossein, he says, "Hello, my dear teacher," and he's saying, "I sent you guys a big hello from Germany. Hello to Germany and whoever is watching from Germany." My friend Khaled Sant Moritz also saying greetings from Germany, and another greetings coming to you from the United States of America, Farazdak Al Shamari. Hi, my friend. And
Hello, everyone.
Hossein is sending you the metal signal and all the guitars of the world. Okay, so Orphaned Land, uh, you started to reach fame and reputation through your metal music. And then how did the world received the Oriental heavy metal? How were you received in your home country, in the Arab world, and then internationally?
So first of all, back in the days, the first thing we had recorded was a tape, a cassette,
Hmm.
and we sent this tape to many record labels all over the
In the
world, and we
90s, in
immediately,
1991, in 1991, when the band was first launched.
yes, and we
Okay.
immediately got signed by a record label from France because they immediately recognized that this is a heavy metal with kanun, with oud, with darbuka, which was a crazy thing to do. They immediately saw that this is something that they never heard before. So we got immediately signed by this record label. And back in the days, there's no internet, as you can
Hmm.
imagine.
Yes.
No WhatsApp, no Facebook, no social media at all.
No.
We used to switch letters.
Yes.
And at one point, at 1996, we released our second album, and then the band got into this huge break. We didn't
Hmm.
do anything. It was this age where you search yourself or ask yourself questions, and I didn't know that people are familiar with orphan land all around the Middle East up until the year 2001.
Hmm.
Internet started to be around. There were no social media back in those days, but I already had an email, and I got an email um, from a guy from Jordan named Aiz, and
Okay.
Aiz sent me an email with a video, um, attached to it.
Yes.
And the message was, "Hi, Kobi, I'm a big fan, and this is a gift I want to send you." And then I opened the video, and I could hear the music of Orphan Land is playing in the background. And I didn't see his face. He didn't show his face, but I could see his arm, and he raised the sleeve of his arm, and I could see that there was an orphaned land tattoo on his arm.
Okay.
So that was the first interaction I had with the Arab world. I mean, I grew up in Jaffa, which is a mixed city of today, of Arabs,
Yes.
Muslims, Jews, and Christians. But talking to people from Jordan or Syria, it never happened up until that moment.
Hmm.
So I leaned back my chair and I asked myself, what did I just see? Was it an Arab guy tattooing the logo of my Israeli band because I'm Israeli? So how can it be?
How is
This is
that
not
possible?
this is not this is not this is not hockey. This is not football. I mean, in
Yes.
hockey and football or in basketball, the fan of Los Angeles Lakers would not make a tattoo of Boston Celtics. and you would the fan of Barcelona would not make a tattoo of Real Madrid. So an Arab making a tattoo of an Israeli Jewish guy's band, that was something it blew my mind.
Hmm.
Still does, as we speak. And it was that moment that I realized the power of music. Um, as was and still is one of my biggest teachers. I think that a band's biggest teachers are the fans of the band, and as is still one of my biggest teachers. And that a while after I met him, he came to our show in Turkey, and then he
Hmm.
showed me a book published in Egypt, um, about Satanism and things like that. And we were on that book, and then I realized that there are metalheads in the Middle East. I didn't know up until that moment that there are metal fans
Mm.
in the Middle East. And then I started to get more emails. I got another guy from Lebanon who did an Orphaned Land tattoo, and another guy from Dubai. And I started to get emails from Syria and from Lebanon. And then I realized that this is like a phenomenon that was already there, but the internet allows us to communicate,
Hmm.
because you couldn't even make a phone call to Egypt or maybe to, I don't know, Jordan back in the days. And that was a very big fuel for me personally and for the band to continue to understand the power of a microphone, the power of lyrics, the power of music, on top of the problems caused by politicians and even religious priests in the region.
True. True.
So it was a very big uh, point in our career when we realized the bravery of those fans.
Yes.
It's something I always cherish, because being a metalhead in Jordan wasn't easy, in Egypt as well. The authorities don't always understand a T-shirt with a skull or with the word death on it,
Yes. Yes.
and I always saw these people as very brave to go and follow their musical taste and to listen to metal music. And I mean, they might be the fans of my band, but I am their fan as well,
Yes.
because I think
So
they're very brave.
yeah, Kobe, you have worked with Arab musicians and Arab singers. Uh, it was very obvious. Many of your songs have Arabic lyrics on them, Arabic music, especially the album All Is One. There is lots and lots of Arabic music in that album, and also in other albums. Like in every album, I notice something Arabic there. I don't
Yeah,
know in the background. Maybe you also worked with Arabic musicians as well, but I heard Arabic vocals in those songs. So,
yeah.
what made you joint ventures and forces with Arabic musicians, and what is the message behind incorporating Arabic music and having Arabic singers and musicians in your band performing to the world?
Ziad, do you hear me?
No, I can't hear you. Now I can hear you.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah. Did you hear my question?
So I think that yes, yes. I think that what always drove me to do that starts with my childhood in Jaffa. Um,
Hmm.
I grew up among Arabs and Muslims. There are maybe 12 mosques still active in Jaffa,
We
and the
call it
muazzin
also
is always
Yafa. In
saying
Arabic, we call it
his
Yafa as well.
Jaffa, of course.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I grew up among Arabs, and I always heard the music of Kulthum and Fairuz,
Hmm.
and more coming from the neighbors. You mentioned All Is One, but we also used an Egyptian famous melody in our album Mabul on a song we call Nora El Nora, which
Yes,
was originally written as Samra Ya Samra by Karim Mahmoud in Egypt.
yes.
So it was always there as a part of my musical taste. I always heard the mosque muazzin singing Allahu Akbar, and I always heard the music from the neighbors and the kids that I used to play football. They were both Jews and Arabs and Muslims, or Christian Arabs, which are all also populated in Jaffa.
Mhm.
So it was there. It was there in my system already, and I was always attracted to the melody because it was different than the music that you hear from Europe,
Mhm.
let's say, or the West, because
Yes.
it has this quarter tone scales. I think Arabic music is not linear; it's more round.
Hmm.
So it's not ta 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 ta. It's more it doesn't have these lines. It has these rounds in it.
Yes.
And since it's built this way, it has a lot of feeling.
Hmm.
It has a lot of heart in it.
So
Um,
have you personally been touched by Arabic music?
yes,
Uh,
definitely. Definitely. I also think that if you go back, I know that my last name, Farhi,
mhm.
it's related to the Arab word farah,
Farah,
farhan.
happiness, happiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there used to be a huge family Farhi descendants in Egypt, I know, in Syria,
Mhm.
and also in the Balkan area from Turkey and Greece and Bulgaria, which is where we come from. But the Jewish people, they were always nomads. So I think that there is something Arabic in my essence because I am feeling something listening to this music. I feel something listening even to the muazzin. It was always there in my childhood, and I was always touched by Fairuz. I'm still singing a lullaby to my daughter. I'm still singing a song of Fairuz up until this moment.
Which
She's
which Fairuz songs do you like? Maybe I will ask you to sing something for Fairuz to us.
I will like I love a lot of songs, but what I sing to my daughter is أعطيني الناي وغني
Oh my God. I just figured you will say Atari La Waghani because everybody's obsessed with this song.
because it's
The stage is
Halil
yours.
it's Halil Gibran and
Amazing.
the lyrics are just they are divine, I think. And
And the
but I like
melody,
more songs. I like also أنا لحبيبي وحبيبي ليه.
Ellie. Yes.
Um, she's amazing, really. I really envy the people even of Lebanon or even Jaffa because I know that Kulthum, she played in Jaffa before I think before Israel was established, before I was
Yes.
born, obviously.
Yes.
And I'm a big fan, really. Um
So
Something in these
anything Arabic
violins.
for Fairuz that can you sing to your audience right now? Anything in mind in the Arabic language from Fairuz or Kulthum? I will help you with the
Uh,
words.
yeah. أعطني النايا وغني الغنى الصغ اللجوء وأنين الذي يبقى بعد أن يفنى اللجوء. Maybe I am mistaken a little bit with my dialect.
No, it
Apologies,
was it was perfect. It was
but
perfect.
it's 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 just amazing, really. I think that the Arab culture Um, it has a lot of influence on me. Um, my daughter's name is Arabic. I call her Layla.
Hmm.
Layla is a figure in Alf Layla wa Layla.
Layla also, yeah, is a very famous figure for romantic love and a figure of
Yeah,
romanticism in the Arabic
yeah. And
poetry.
there was a very famous Egyptian Arabian female singer called Layla Murad.
Layla Murad, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's a very renowned singer and actress. She's done many movies, and she's awesome. All the Arab world still remembers her music and sing it.
yeah.
So, Firas from Egypt is telling you Kobi Farhi brings happiness to metal fans.
Habibi.
There you go. Habibi Firas, thank you. Uh, okay, Kobi, so how many albums have you made so far during the 30 years?
Well, we have made six studio albums,
Hmm.
one live album,
Yes.
and the second live album is going to come out next year. It was a live recording of the 30th anniversary show we did in Tel Aviv a few months
Mhm.
ago.
Yes. I want to ask you about Brother in All Is One album. This song was so amazing, especially the chorus at the end and the lyrics of the song. It's just a fantastic song. Can you tell us the story behind Brother? And why did you choose? Who wrote the lyrics of this song? And why did you write it? And why did you incorporated Brother in that particular album?
Okay, so All Is One is the fifth studio album of the band, and we wanted to take a very straightforward approach in that album.
Hmm.
Sometimes the lyrics were very complicated and complex, and in this album we wanted to be very simple. Uh, and so in the past we used to have song titles that could have, I don't know, 6 words in it, and then we in this album we had decided to go with the one word: brother, children, stuff like that.
Yes,
And the cover of this album was very straightforward, combining all the religious symbols together.
yes. The
And
cross,
I
the
wrote,
Star of David, and the Muslim
yeah,
crescent.
yes,
Yeah.
I wrote the lyrics of Brother myself,
Oh,
uh, coming
I
from a
didn't know
point,
that.
yeah,
Okay.
it was coming from an angle that coming that basically the Israelis and the Arabs are family. We
Hmm.
both describes ourselves as the descendants of Abraham.
Hmm.
I think that in Egypt, when Egyptians talks about the Jews, they call them cousins. And when we
Hmm.
talk about the Arabs, we call them cousins because this is an historical fact that no one
It's a
doubts.
historical fact. Yeah, no one can change that. Yes.
What I figured was that the Bible is full of uh, fights between brothers. So the
Hmm.
Bible opens with a fight of Cain and Abel.
Yes.
And if you go to the story of Joseph, Yusuf, and his
Yusuf.
brothers, the
Yes.
sons of Jacob,
Yes. The
the
11
brothers
brothers.
of Joseph throw him to the pit.
Hmm.
And even Jacob and his brother, they used to fight. So you see that the Bible is full of these fights between brothers,
And families.
which brings me to the historical fight of Isaac and Ishmael,
Ishmael too. Yes.
Ishaq and Ismail.
Hmm.
And I was thinking that I should write this song from the voice of Isaac. If I am the Israeli, if I am the Jew, let me write it on behalf of Isaac. And I thought that I should write this song of my wishful thinking to put an end to a conflict with
Yes.
my brothers and sisters, with
Hmm.
my cousins.
Yes.
And I thought that I would approach as Isaac approaching Ismail, and I would just sing him that song, telling the story. You know that there's a very interesting point in that song. In Judaism, the Jews believe that Ibrahim, he took Isaac to the mountain to slaughter
Mhm.
him.
Yes.
Muslims obviously believe it was Ismail, and there is
Hmm.
even a Muslim holiday
Yes.
that Ibrahim took Ismail to the mountain to kill him. So as you can see, the both religions even fight about who was the kid on the mountain with Papa, with Abraham,
Hmm.
because the Jews believe it was Isaac, the Muslims believe it was Ismail. So the song, there is a part of the lyrics that says, "The Lord blessed us both, but we still fight and claim that kid on the mountain. What was his name?"
Yes.
And the truth is that no one knows, because we are living now thousands of years after. And the truth is that I don't care. I don't care because I think that it doesn't matter. And I think that in the song, Isaac also saying, "Forgive me, brother." Not forgive me in a manner of I am mistaken and you're not. I was bad and you're not. But in a manner of let me be the first one telling you that I want your forgiveness, that I want us to build, let's build the realm of light together instead
Hmm.
of killing each other. If there is a God above us, what would be his biggest dream? To see us fighting each other or to see us getting along, living together, to see our children play together? What would be the dream of God, the dream of Allah, the dream of what would be the dream of him?
Hmm.
It would surely be a dream to see the sons and the descendants of Abraham, the father of all the Abrahamic religions, to see them as brothers, as what they are. And my point of view is that brothers do not fight, this is yours and this is mine, the way if you look at the conflicts on the Middle East, these are the fights. This land is mine, this land is yours. God chose me, God didn't choose you. I think that brothers, the only thing that brothers say to each other is, if it's mine, it's yours. Whatever's mine is yours. Alatul, the way they say in
Yes.
Egyptian, I think.
Egypt.
It's
Yeah.
everything. Qalb maftuh.
Yeah.
So I believe that this is the true cause and the true
Yes.
will of any hope and light and God that exists.
Hmm.
So this song is a very special song in that manner, and
It feels
also,
special, and it feels special when you listen to it. It's special. The lyrics is special, and I find myself when I go to that album, whenever I want to listen to anything from that album, I find myself unconsciously going to Brother and listen to it.
yeah,
And every time I listen to it, I just find something new in that song. A question coming from Firas, and I have another question coming from Martin. Before I go to their question, do you still remember the lyrics if I ask you to sing a small portion of it to us?
of brother,
Yes.
of course, I wrote it.
I'm being very greedy because I can't believe I'm with Kobe, so definitely
Sure.
I would love to hear him sing something for us.
Story began before I was born.
Mm,
Childless woman cried sadly at home. Her maid gave birth to a child of her own. My Father felt joy, yet it was storm.
Brother, he. So beautiful. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Kobe.
Thank
A
you.
question from Firas. He's saying you reference religion and faith a lot in your songs. Is faith your inspiration and driving force in Orphan Land?
Well, it is because it was a very big part. It's a very important part of the whole Middle East. Religion is a
Mhm,
very big and influential thing everywhere you grow up, and it's a part of your life. But there is also a lot of criticism in our music towards faiths, priests, religions, um, simply from the fact that we had succeeded to do more than any local rabbi or imam or priest in the Middle East. And I'm not saying it, I'm not trying to be arrogant or something like that,
yes.
but I believe that faith is a great thing. The Bible is
Mhm,
a great thing. The Quran is a great book. And I believe that it has a lot of divinity in it, but I think that the people do not use it in the proper way.
mhm,
Um, I mean, Islam is definitely a religious of peace in its essence, and
mhm,
people misinterpret it. People misjudge. Same thing about Judaism. Um, I think that there should be more efforts about bringing people together rather than fighting whose religion is the better way to God or Allah. I think that once you miss it, then you miss the whole point.
yes.
It doesn't matter if you know the whole book, you can say it from and memorize the whole lyrics. If you miss the very simple fact that we should love one another and help one another and live together and find a way to do it, once you miss that, religion doesn't worth anything. That's my opinion. I don't want to hurt anyone from the
Yes.
audience here, but that's just my personal opinion.
Very true. Yes. Another question coming from Martin Sheet in Toronto. He's saying, Kobe, have you ever considered singing makams based on quarter tone like bayat and saba, perhaps playing on fretless guitar?
Well, we are using a lot of makams, uh, basically Hijaz, but I think that Bayat is also there. In our latest album that released in 2018, there is a song called Yedidi, which is using quarter tones and
Which album are you talking about? Kanaan?
no, I'm talking about Unsung Prophets and Dead Messiahs.
Okay,
Which
that
one?
Falot Kanaan.
Yeah, the one
Oh,
that it's the latest one. It's the one that we had released.
yes, yes,
It has
yes,
quarter tones in it, and I always find it very, very challenging to do it. If you can hear that song Yedidi, I'm singing on a very Arabian, maybe also Andalusian
yes,
Arabian way.
yes,
I'm doing ma'wals, and you have to understand this is not my natural way of singing. I mean, I did grow up in Jaffa, but I was so much connected to it that I had learned myself to sing that way. So you can maybe listen to that song and see maybe you can definitely hear there the quarter tones uh, easily in that
yes.
one.
Speaking about this album, what have you done in the cave? Such a
Well,
powerful
the
song.
cave,
It's an epic. I would say this song is an epic. The
yeah,
transitions and the different tunes, when you listen to it, like from the very beginning to the end. First of all, it's a very long song.
yeah.
and then you don't listen to just one tune that repeats itself over and over again to the end of the song. You keep transitioning and moving from the fast, the powerful, to the romantic, to the soft, and then to the powerful again. What have you done in this song? Tell me about it.
Well, I think this whole album really took us to a very, very high level. We always try to take ourselves to the next level when we compose, when we write, and in this one, basically we used a lot of inspiration from the Greek philosopher Plato.
Hmm.
It has I don't know if you're familiar with the allegory of the cave by Plato,
Okay. Yes, of course.
and so that was really inspired from that story that Plato wrote after the Greeks killed Socrates, because he tried to understand something about the human behavior. Why do
Hmm.
we always fight? Why do we always kill the prophets? Why do we
Yes.
always persecute the saints?
Yes.
Because if you look throughout history, a lot of messiahs came to their people,
Hmm.
whether if it was Jesus, Isa, whether if it was in our times. Let's take Martin Luther King
Hmm.
coming to the Afro Americans.
Yes.
He was assassinated.
True.
Mahatma Gandhi from India,
Was
he was
assassinated.
some kind of a shepherd and a messiah for their people. He was
Yes.
assassinated.
He was a deliverer, indeed.
If you go to Che Guevara, he was the same thing for South Americans, and he
Hmm.
was assassinated.
So
So
you use
going
the
back,
word messiahs as a figurative word.
yes.
It's a
So I
metaphor.
use the dead messiahs as a parallel human behavior throughout history,
Yes.
from the allegory of Plato, where he wrote it
Hmm.
since the Greeks killed Socrates, which was the light, the philosopher, the knowledge of his time in Greece.
Yes.
And he shows you, and this song shows you that we're doing the same thing 2,500 years later. Still the same. Um, you know that Prime Minister of Israel, Yitzhak Rabin, rest in peace, he was the closest politician to to almost achieve peace between Israelis and Palestinians throughout the history of Israel. He was the closest one.
Hmm.
At the point where he did the peace agreement with Jordan, Arabian people in Jordan, the day that the peace agreement was signed, Arabian babies were born in Jordan, and some parents called their child Yitzhak Rabin because of that peace agreement. And yet, he was too assassinated. So you see that it's a pattern, and you can find it everywhere throughout
True.
history.
So it's a repeated pattern. Anyone who comes to
Yeah,
deliver the nation towards something or from something will face the same destiny, which is
yes,
murder or
because in the
assassination.
allegory of the cave, when he come to take them out of the cave,
Hmm.
the hero, they think that he lost his sanity. They think that he's crazy, and they kill him. And
Yes.
it shows us that humanity is trapped.
Hmm.
Humanity is addicted to violence.
True.
It's addicted to groups, to me and you, to us and them. And every time that someone comes and try to take us out, most likely you will end up dead. So
Hmm.
that's the song and this album. It also talks about the unsung prophets. Unsung prophets are the ones who, I mean, Plato is considered a philosopher, not a
Yes,
prophet.
he
But
is.
for us, he is a prophet, because the allegory of of the cave
Yeah.
predicted anything that happened from Socrates to Che
Yeah.
Guevara or Rabin,
Plato is known in Arabic as Aflaton.
Platon. In
Aflaton.
Hebrew as well. In Hebrew as well, Platon. Yeah,
Aflaton. Okay.
yeah. Same in Hebrew.
Yeah.
Um, so he was an unsung prophet because he's not recognized as an
Yes.
unsung prophet. If you
Yes.
go throughout history to the latest authors, let's say Aldous Huxley, George Orwell, those authors, they are described as authors. They are prophets to me.
Answer.
They have been predicted. I mean, they wrote their books based on the Holocaust and the Nazis,
Mm-hmm.
but what they had predicted, it's a prophecy. So unsung prophets are the ones who are not acknowledged as prophets, like
Yes.
Muhammad, like Moses, Moshe, Musa,
Mm-hmm.
and others like Isa. They
Mm-hmm.
are acknowledged as authors or philosophers. This is why we
Yes.
call them unsung prophets, and the heroes we call dead messiahs. It's a
Mm,
great concept album. I think we really took it to a very, very high level of, of everything we do with Orphaned Land.
amazing. Are you working on another album right now? Because you released something recently, but it's not an album. It's like, I don't know what you call it. I won't consider this an album. What do you think?
What you talking about, Knan?
You released something this year. I think it was just you were just showing the background and backstage preparations to some of your musics in the past.
Oh yeah, since it was the 30-year anniversary of the band,
Hmm.
so several releases have been released. It's not a formal studio album.
Yes.
uh, some release was gathering a lot of the very early tapes of the band
Yes.
that we had
Yes.
recorded to a cassette.
Hmm.
It's the very, very, very beginning of the band, even before we started the Oriental metal music.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
for collectors. It's very interesting to see where we started and where we got onto today.
Yes.
But to your question about a new album, we're still working on the new live album that is going to be released next year. And after
So
this live album,
is this a scoop? Is this a scoop?
well, I hope. I mean, there's going to be a live album in August 22. It's a
Okay.
recording of the 30th anniversary concert we did in Tel Aviv with a classical orchestra. So it
Mm,
was a big concert with 60 people on stage where we play, and an orchestra bigger than the Uncle Tom orchestra
wow.
is playing with us classic music, 2 hour songs. So this is going to be a live album coming up next year. And after that, Allah Karim.
Allah Kareem, inshallah. That's
Let's see.
that's that's great news. So we're expecting a new album coming up this coming August of 2022.
Yeah, yeah, a live
Okay,
album. Yeah,
fantastic. So a live album, are you going to repeat some of your old songs or are you playing new songs? Just
yeah.
tell me
It's gonna
brief
be it's
idea
gonna
about
be songs from all over the repertoire of the band,
it. Hmm.
with classical arrangements. So it's like a, in a way, a different version, let's say, from the album version because it's with a complete orchestra playing
Wow.
together with the band. Yeah,
And is it going to be aired live or is it going to be on iTunes or Apple
it's going to
Music?
be released both digitally on all digital platforms, as
Hmm.
well as on CD and vinyl, and those kind of things.
Okay, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I I have another question coming up from Fawaz Sanati, and I want to thank Fawaz Sanati on the air for helping me connect with you, Kobe. So Fawaz, thank you very much. Uh, you helped a great deal in making this interview possible. So I have to acknowledge that on the air. Fawaz is
thank you,
asking,
Fawaz.
I noticed that you try to dress like Jesus in your live concert and some image in your cover album. Is there a message behind that or just coincidence? I think coincidence he means.
Coincidence. Yeah.
Coincidence, Fawaz.
Well,
You dressed as Jesus in some of your video clips and in one of your album, and that
yeah.
question,
You know,
is that intentional or coincidence?
it started when people told me back in the days, even when I was younger, people told me that I really remind them the figure of Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought that it could be great to act like Jesus on stage
Mm-hmm.
because of the message of the band, which is a message of unity and peace and bringing people together. And Jesus is a figure in all three religions. He was Jewish, even though not accepted by the Orthodox Judaism, but Jesus was a Jew. In Islam, Isa is a prophet. In Christianity, Jesus is the Messiah. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought that speaking about the three monotheistic religions in our songs, in our themes, going live on stage, people told me I look like him. I thought it's a great idea to use that acting. A show is
Resemblance.
a show. You need to act. You need to play.
Yes.
So it's just a very clever strategy I chose to do, um, and I connect with a lot of the things that Jesus done in his life, and I think that if he would have lived today, he would appreciate metal music very much.
True. Another question coming from Firas in Egypt. He's asking, have you considered writing soundtracks for movies, documentaries, etc.?
Sure. I mean, if we just need to get an offer to do it. For example, we wrote the album Knan, which was written originally for a theater play in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Once someone will come and put us in the studio, we would gladly do it. Uh, it's always interesting to create music and to come from even a different angle than you used to do with Orphaned Land. And
Uh-huh.
I would definitely do a soundtrack for movies if anyone put me in the studio to do it. Sure, sure, it could be amazing.
So let me stop you here. So Kanaan is a soundtrack basically to a play.
Yeah, it's like a musical theater play
Mm-hmm.
that was written in Germany, and we wrote the music to the request of the director. Sitting together, we went to Germany and we met the director and we had a brainstorming with him, and that's how we wrote it. And it's also dealing a lot with the Abrahamic problems with Isaac, with Ishmael, with all these kind of things. I think it was inspired a lot from the song Brother as well, the request
Yes.
to do Knan,
Yes.
because it also has a song about Sarah and about Hajar and about all this story basically.
Yes. Yes. Um, One last question I need to ask you about also unsung prophets and messiahs, and dead messiahs. Um, Orpheus, you made that song into a video clip as well, and it's it's very controversial. I find it.
Yeah.
What's the story behind Orpheus?
Okay, so in the album, Orpheus is a figure in Greek mythology.
Hmm.
Orpheus was the greatest singer of his time. And in the Greek mythology, they say that when he sang, the earth was open, the trees were bowing to him. So in the album, before I'm going to the video clip, in the album where the hero is going out of the cave of Aplaton
Hmm.
and see the world for the first time he see the blue sky and the
Hmm.
green leaves and the
Yes.
birds fly and the flowers and the sun and the clouds. First time he sees it, he's
Yes.
used to live in the cave for so long. So he starts to sing like Orpheus.
Hmm.
That was from the album side.
Yes.
Now, when you go to the video clip, we took it to a complete different story that connects
Different
in a way.
level. A love story.
So in Jaffa, there was and still is a female metalhead,
Hmm.
and she used to go to metal concerts all the time. She used to come to our shows, and she's a fan of Orphaned Land. And and she's Muslim, obviously coming from an Orthodox home. And at one point, she went to a show of a black metal band called Behemoth,
Hmm.
where the vocalist Nergal, which is a friend of mine, he with a corpse paint, looking really like the angel of death, and they took a photo together at backstage while she's wearing hijab, covering her hair, and he is with all the makeup looking like the angel of death. And they both were doing the horns. That picture became very viral, and a lot of people talked about it. But ever since that event, she never came to a metal concert again. I mean, she's safe, nothing happened to her, she's not hurt. But like I said before, society, Orthodox society mainly, sometimes have a difficulty to understand metalheads
Hmm.
and to understand that they can both like Behemoth and practice Islam. They still love their religion and culture. It has nothing to do, it has nothing against it. But the
Hmm.
people have a difficulty to understand it. So we wanted to tell a story about an Orthodox Jew and an Orthodox Muslim that
Yes.
are going to a metal show, taking their religious outfit and going to this show, and they never meet each other, and they never imagine that they are so much alike, because at the end of the video clip you can see them both sitting on a bus station. She's an Orthodox Muslim, he's an Orthodox Jew, and they have no idea that the both of them went to the same metal concert. And in a way connects to the album That's the Cave, where you're
Hmm.
living in a cave and you do not see the truth out of the cave. You only see the shades of things in the cave and you don't see the truth. In the bus station, it's the cave. When they go to a metal concert, they're out of the cave. So that was the allegory that we wanted to do. And we wanted to tell the story of metalheads in the Middle East, as we always do. As I said before, I admire these people. I see them as very brave, um, especially the metal people in the Arab countries. And
Yes.
also in also the girl from Jaffa, it's the same thing. She was very brave to go to a metal concert, and she almost got into trouble, big trouble, because of it. And I think that for no reason, because she didn't do anything wrong.
Hmm.
And that's just telling their story. And some of the comments on the clip, you could see that people say, "I see myself, I see my story in that clip," and
Yes.
it's important for us because we're Middle Eastern. We're not singing about Vikings. I leave it to the Scandinavians. We're singing about the Middle East, and that was the right thing to do, I think.
That's amazing. And it seems to me I mean, as a follow-up question to Firas's question, when he asked you about using religious concepts and stories from the Bible and the Holy Quran and the Torah and other religious books, it seems also to me that you've been influenced by the Greek culture and tradition, the Roman, the gods and goddesses in those civilization. So, and it seems also to me that you are a well-read artist. You've read so much about Greek mythology and Roman mythology. Uh, am I right in my question or
Yes,
wrong? And how much
yes.
of that has influenced? Have you been influenced by?
I think that I think that the Hellenic um nation, among with the Jews of that time, they were a very big influence about everything that goes today in the Western world. Let's say,
Hmm.
if it's the Jewish Bible, that were the basic of Christianity and Islam to rise from Judaism, basically. I mean, Islam and Christianity do not deny all the Jewish prophets and the Jewish history. And I think that if you go to Greece, a lot of the things that we're using these days came from the ancient Greece. Democracy, it's Greek.
Hmm.
Philosophy, it's Greek. Theater, it's Greek. Sport, it's from Sparta, I think.
Yes.
Um, I mean, a lot of words we're using are coming from Greek origin. Ego, it's Greek. Catharsis.
Hmm.
So it has a lot of influence on our daily life, and I find it fascinating. I love the Greeks, same as I love the Arabs. I am a very big researcher of history and philosophy, and I think
Hmm.
it's fascinating. Yeah, the Greeks, they have a fascinating stories and
Civilization.
things that we're still using these days. So we're using a lot of figures of especially in the latest album. It's really went all the way with Aplaton. I'm using motifs of Icarus flying too
Icarus.
high,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Hades. All these figures are really poetic and colorful and amazing. And Greece is a neighbor, to the Middle East.
Absolutely. And there is
Yeah,
so much Greek influence in the Arabic culture as well, especially
of course,
in Egypt, Lebanon, Syria,
true.
all over the Mediterranean countries.
It's true, and there are a lot of Egyptian songs that I know Greek versions of them as well, and
Hmm.
vice versa.
Yes, yes,
Um, and yeah, yeah, Greece is was a big thing, I think, throughout history, and we all took elements from them. Um, that there is a song that the Greeks call it Mr. Lou.
hmm,
Do you know the Pulp Fiction soundtrack?
yes.
So
Quentin
there is this.
Tarantino.
There is this song. Da, 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 da. Da,
Hmm.
da, 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 da. So
Yes,
basically, that song in
that's the,
Greek,
the theme song of Pulp Fiction.
yes. So
Quentin
the when you go
Tarantino's
back,
film. Yeah.
exactly. So when you go back to the origin of that
Hmm.
song,
Yes.
everyone claimed that they own it. You have
Mm.
a version of it in Yiddish, the Jewish version. You have an
Hmm.
Arabic version. You
Yes.
have a Greek version. You have a Turkish version,
Hmm.
and they all claim no one knows who wrote it, but the Greek version they call it Misirlu. Misirlu, it means the lady from Egypt.
Hmm.
So the original name of this song it's the lady from Egypt.
Okay.
Tarantino took the surf American surf cover that they did for it, but when you research that song, it's amazing to hear it in Yiddish, in Arabic, in Greek, in Turkish, in and you can never tell. But you see that even then the Greeks wrote about the girl from Egypt. So there is a connection from Greece all the way to the Middle East down to Egypt. I think that there is a line connecting us all.
Yes. And this is the universality of music. You have
Yeah.
consumed every aspect and feature of the meaning to the word
What is
universality of
your
music.
origins, Ziad? Where have you born?
I'm originally from Iraq. I was born in Baghdad.
Wallah.
Yes. And living in Canada right now. So,
Iraq
Kobe,
is
yes,
Iraq. It's an amazing place
the cradle of
historically.
civilization. Yes.
Yeah, Babylon. Yeah, yeah, of course.
Babylon, Sumer, it's where
Yes,
humanity and civilization started.
true,
Yeah, where the
true.
first letter was written. Yeah, and the origin of all languages started there.
Yeah, yeah.
They
And there
invented the
was a
lira.
very big Jewish community also. We have a lot of Jewish
There
Araki in
was, there
Israel.
was, yes, yes, there was, and there is, and Iraqis, they like to communicate with them, and luckily there is, they exchange visits right now, and they're seeing the origins back. So
Yeah,
it's a good thing to happen. Really good. Kobe, we have exceeded the 1 hour. I know you are exhausted and you've been out and tired all day, and I took your Sunday from you. So thank you so much for
it was
coming.
fun.
Thank you so much. It's a really great conversation. Final thoughts, Kobe, before saying goodbye to the fans and audience. What do you like to tell through Orphaned Land? Kobe Farhi, what do you want to tell the world?
Well, first, I would like to thank you, Ziad, for having me.
You're
I would
very
like to
welcome.
thank everyone who joined us and listened to me and spent this hour together. Um, and what I wanted to say is, I would like to say to people to try their best to to communicate. I mean,
Mm,
if you're an Arab, find your Israeli Jewish friend and just communicate. I think that the problem of Israelis and Arabs, even let's say Israelis and Palestinians, is
mm,
to show sympathy for each other's tragedy. Showing a sympathy for your enemy's tragedy seems like a weakness to a political brainwash kind of thinking.
mhm,
I think that for me and my Palestinian friends, it's very easy for me to understand the Palestinian tragedy. It's very easy for my Palestinian friends to understand the Jewish historical tragedies that brought the
mm,
Jews back to the country, being very defensive and because the history of persecuting the Jews was so strong that the Jews are now so defensive and don't want to hear anything. So I have friends that can show sympathy to that Jewish story, not because they accept what is happening, but because they can understand the history of my story. So, what I would like to ask people is to just talk to each other. Don't be afraid to talk. Don't be afraid to listen. Don't be afraid to show sympathy for the story of your enemy. Let's call it that way. Because at the end of the day, we're not enemies, we're family. I will think like that till my last breath, and I will do everything in my power till my last breath. And I would like to ask you to keep on doing that because I guess that a lot of you are already doing it. You're listening to Orphanland. You came here. You share your questions and thoughts, and that would be my dream to see myself playing in Baghdad. You know, to see my daughter playing with a Palestinian girl,
mhm.
to see them as friends. Football, music, theater, cinema, you name it.
Yes,
I'm sick of wars and conflicts, and it's just my wish, and I would like to ask you to help doing that.
it's time to live in harmony. Enough.
Oh yeah,
Enough is enough with all the
it's
pain
maybe
and
naive, but it's all I know. So
mhm,
I think it's what God would have wanted if He could speak out
mhm,
loud.
mhm. Right. Fawaz is telling you, we hope to see you one day performing in Babylon Theater.
Inshallah.
Because I don't know if you know about that. In Iraq, there is an annual festival called the Babylon Festival. It's an
Mm,
international festival to which artists and musicians from around the world are invited to perform to the Iraqi audience. And yes, I reiterate the same wish. One day, we hope to see Orphaned Land performing in Babylon.
inshallah. Amen.
Inshallah. Amin to that. Amin to that. I would like to thank everyone. Thank you for your questions and your contributions and comments. Dawood Zgoura from Morocco is telling you, thank you, Mr. Ziad. Thank you, Mr. Kobi. My great respect. Thank you so much, Dawood. Thank you. And Dawood is David,
Of course.
right?
Daoud
Okay,
is David. Suleiman is Shlomo. It's the same
Shlomo.
names.
Yes, yes,
Same names.
yes.
I'm Kobi. Kobi is Yaqub.
Yaqub. Yes. So,
Yeah.
Dr. Balsam from Baghdad, she's saying hello to you. Hi, Dr. Balsam. Nice to
So
see you here. Okay, Kobe. I think it's time for us to say goodbye, but we will keep in touch, of course. I'll be waiting impatiently for your newest album, and I wish you all the best. My
thank you.
deepest respect and thanks and sincerity for. I sincerely thank you for coming and joining me today. It was a
Thank you
real
for having
pleasure.
me, Ziad,
Genuine
and
pleasure. Thank
thank you all. And let's keep in touch. And hopefully, we will meet on one of our concerts somewhere
you.
in the
Inshallah.
future.
Inshallah.
Be
Thank you,
safe
Kobe.
and healthy, everyone.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you.
Salam.
Goodbye, everyone, and salam. Bye bye.